NewsNation weeknights. Blake Berman on The Hill. Weeknight 6, 5 Central, only on NewsNation. News for all America.
A sigh of relief for now. Speaker Mike Johnson pushing a major foreign aid package through the House with help from Democrats. Members adjourn without delivering on a long-threatened attempt to remove Johnson from his post. A reprieve for the Speaker, but for how long? We look at Johnson's future as we sit down with one of the Democrats who may play a role in deciding his fate. Congressman Ivey of Maryland joins me live on set. And as Jews around the world celebrate Passover, a time of high anxiety in the Holy Land, with Israel fresh off of a retaliatory strike against Iran and possible offensive in southern Gaza still to come. How is the United States navigating this tense situation? Senator Michael Bennet, a member of the Intelligence Committee, joins us to discuss options for America and her allies. Plus, the jury is set. Attorneys in the first criminal trial of former President Donald Trump begin making their case this week. We'll tell you what to watch for and the political fallout with our best-in-class panel of journalists. The Hill Sunday starts now. Hello and welcome to the Hill Sunday. I'm Chris Steyerwalt. It's a busy weekend here on Capitol Hill. As soon as Tuesday, the Senate is expected to vote on a $95 billion foreign aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Yesterday, the House passed a series of 4 bills in a bipartisan vote, including $17 billion for Israel, plus $9 billion in humanitarian aid for war-torn Gaza, $60 billion for Ukraine as Russia tries to deal a death blow there, and $8 billion for Taiwan and Indo-Pacific allies to counter China. That vote also includes new sanctions on Iran and a measure that could ban TikTok nationwide. Moving this legislation has been complicated, to say the least, for House Speaker Mike Johnson, and his job remains in peril as Republican dissidents threaten to oust him. And if they try, they'll probably need Democrats to save him.
As I've said many times, I don't walk around this building being worried about a motion to vacate. I have to do my job. We did. I've done here what I believe to be the right thing, and that is to allow the House to work its will.
Here with me, Democratic Congressman from Maryland, Ivey. He's a member of the House Judiciary and Homeland Security Committees. Congressman, thank you for being here. Happy Sunday. Mike Johnson sounded very different this week than we had heard him in the past. When he came out and gave this full-throated defense of aid for Ukraine, talking about America's role in the world, I was surprised. Were you surprised? Was that a different vibe than you knew from him?
It was a little different than the language that's been used, especially with respect to Ukraine, by the Republican Party as of late. This sounded more Reagan-esque, frankly. More of America's the leader of the free world. Russia is an adversary that we have to check. Those sorts of comments I thought were important. And I think it was good recognition that we needed to step in and help Ukraine immediately. In fact, we should have done it months ago.
Okay, so more Democrats than Republicans voted to advance the bill.
Right.
And we've heard from a lot of Republicans about that. Members like Thomas Massey, Paul Gosar, Marjorie Taylor Greene. The Congressese language is the motion to vacate.
Right.
They left town without having done it. And I actually want to read you. This is what the Thomas Massey said, that basically it would, right now, 3 is the magic number. If you called the motion to vacate, Johnson, is going to lose absent Democrats saving him like they did. But if they do that, he's really become tainted. So walk me through this. Will you and other Democrats vote to save the speakership for Johnson if these rebels come back after the break and try to take it away from him?
Well, I think we'll have to see. But I thought that, Saturday was a good day, especially with respect to Speaker Johnson working with Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. The week before that, you had Pfizer, which was another bipartisan piece of legislation that was extremely important to get done. So we may have hit a point where we're able to get things done if we work together on a bipartisan basis going forward. And almost everything of any import that's gotten done in this Congress, whether it's keeping the government open or paying the United States debts, has all been done on a bipartisan basis. Democrats are willing to work with him, and I think he's shown that he will work with us. So that could be good.
But there's a problem that Massey alludes to with the tainted speaker, that he is a captive of the Democrats, and what the sort of MAGA wing of the Republicans in the House, Freedom Caucus folks, say is, well, if Democrats are helping him, then he's lost his leverage. But they only have one seat to. They don't have the kind of governing majority that they can just plow stuff through on partisan lines. But what about that? What about the fact that he is tainted by Democratic support?
Well, I assume what they would look to is that the votes we had on Saturday had large majorities. So it's not like he was pushing things through and the Democrats were supplying all of the votes and only a handful of Republicans did. I think only with respect to Ukraine were there more votes, Republican votes in opposition than in favor. But aid to Israel, aid to Gaza, humanitarian aid, aid to the Indo-Pacific, all had majorities, certainly of Democrats, but also of Republicans too.
Now, it's on Israel where Democrats have where the Republicans are stuck on Ukraine. It's on Israel where Democrats struggle. 37 House Democrats voted against sending aid to Israel. And here's what your Democratic colleague, Rashida Tlaib, said. Our country spends billions of tax dollars to maintain this apartheid state and support the continued ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. That seems harsh. What do you do about this division in the Democratic Party, where you have some folks who I think are trying to find a middle way on Israel, but there is that's not nothing in such a narrowly divided Congress, 37 members who won't go there.
Well, actually, I think many of the people who voted against the Israel package were doing a couple things. One was they were trying to send a message to Netanyahu that there's growing concern about the way he's handled the prosecution of the war, especially with respect to the impact on civilians.
Yeah.
The loss of life there has been very high, and I think there's a growing concern that that gets roped in and pulled back. I know they want to move forward with Hamas and trying to dismantle and degrade their capabilities, but
if the vote was closer, there would have been fewer Democratic nays. Do you think that there were some of those folks who were, it's a messaging vote to say, I know it's going to pass, we'll let the Republicans do it, and I can send a message with a no vote?
That might have been. The other part, too, was, they coupled that with the humanitarian aid package to Gaza. And I know there were a lot of people who were sort of torn, but decided to go with the aid to Gaza piece as well. So the combination of those two things helped to get the Democratic numbers pretty high. But I think there's going to be, moving forward, there's definitely concern about how Netanyahu's going to, what the next steps are going to be from his perspective, especially on the Rafah decision.
Okay, now it's time for two middle-aged guys in striped ties to talk about TikTok.
Thanks for letting me be middle-aged.
Yeah, no, we can. It's a broad. We're going to keep it a broad. I want to keep it a broad swath, but TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Where are you on the TikTok ban? How do you?
It's close, but I decided to vote in favor of the bill. For the main reason was that I had reservations about it. Initially, was the 6-month timeline. I was worried that could turn into a fire sale, which would be unfair to the shareholders of TikTok. But they extended the bill to 12 months now, and I think that helps. But I do think there's a concern with the ByteDance role and its connection to the Communist Party.
What about First Amendment concerns? That this is basically squelching free speech?
Yeah, I don't see First Amendment concerns there because people will still they'll be able to use the platform anyway. The real concern, I think, is the privacy issue.
Okay.
And I think that crosses into all the other social media platforms too. So what we really need is privacy legislation that goes across the board, not just on TikTok, but all the other platforms.
Any chance we're actually going to get there? Because there's a lot of people who want to do that. There's a lot of people who want a comprehensive privacy package. Any chance we're going to get there?
It's hard to say. It's uphill for sure.
Yeah.
But, that would be bipartisan as well. That's another one of those where if we can continue to work together, we may be able to get something done.
All right. If you were from Oxon Hill, you'd know him already. But if you don't, there he is, Congressman Glenn Ivey. We thank you for your time. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Okay, coming up, the back and forth battle in the Middle East. Israel launching a